Hello, everyone. Today we are going to do something with our entities again. So you might notice that all of these entities are rotating around a center point that is in the middle. And that just happens to be the case. I don't know why this one is going backwards. You see that? Scrolling backwards. Anyway, every entity that we're making, they are rotating around an anchor, and I would like to be able to set this anchor to be in different places. The reason why is because we're going to, after this, we will be creating a UI system, and the UI system needs three things. It needs text, which we already have. It needs some kind of quad with a texture, which we also do have. And then it needs a hitbox, which we haven't made yet, but that's fine. But then we need to combine all of these things into one thing because we don't want to create text individually and a rectangle individually and a hitbox individually and then just place them at the same place. We want to bundle everything together into one group or one node or one composite if you want. So we will think about how to do that. But the first thing that we need to do is just to make this anchor, because obviously if I'm placing something here, I need to be able to predict, is it going to be the top, the corner, the middle, and eventually if you would imagine this is a spaceship and the spaceship is having fuel and as you're using fuel, the fuel is bunching up in different places. It's not a gas. That means that the center of gravity is going to change. So that means that if you are rotating, obviously the point of rotation is going to change with the center of gravity. So that's something that we need to make dynamic, but also for text generally, you just want to be able to anchor it to the top left if you're doing line by line, or to the center if you are making something like a clickable button. And also it has to do with scaling. So if you are having a fixed box where you want to draw text and you need to scale it, you need to scale it depending on the anchor. If you need to know if you're scaling it from the left side and making it a specific width, or from the center out. So those are the challenges that we are going to be thinking about today. So the first thing, like I said, is we need to have some kind of anchor. And in my code before, I was writing this, and I think I realized I don't really like it. This is just kind of too verbose and unintuitive. And even if I would use this, I would have to put that code somewhere. And I don't really want to put it in here where I'm having a huge switch statement with a second like offset translation that I'm adding. I would like to just be able to set the offset, because especially I don't want to have another, special case where I have some value for the anchor, like a float value offset. These are all anchored to the containment cube, or not cube, like 3D rectangle. I forget what this word is. Box. Cuboid. Oh, a cuboid. I think I just keep forgetting this word. So I think that we can delete this and write something similar for 2D right now. Or do we keep this? So I have written here left near bottom. But I am not even certain. Am I certain that my y is the depth? It might be different on different graphics APIs, or maybe not. I guess you can choose. I don't know. I'm leaning to not having that E in the middle, honestly. So now the entity doesn't have an anchor. Instead, it's going to have a V3. Wait, what is this? That's unused. It's completely unused. We will be using this one. And the way we'll be using it is this will be the offset. So let me go back to the main triangle here. This is our triangle, and it just so happens that the vertices are centered in the middle. So let's open Paint. Here's our triangle. And I have just set up the vertices so that this one is at the X position 0 and Y position 0.666. And then these ones are in the corresponding other other sides, such that the exact middle point between these are here. The natural like center of gravity. So if we would want to have the anchor to be down here, we would just shift the entire thing by the offset that is 0.33. And then when we are rotating it, it would rotate around this anchor. And similarly, we could put the anchor at one of these positions here. So let's try by doing that. Start by doing that and make it a function that just takes a V3 offset. That would be the mesh, I guess. Let's try this. We need a target as well. So in our update here, no, actually here in the draw, and I'm not sure, maybe draw doesn't make sense. Maybe it just makes sense to have it in update. But we are having the translation of the actual mesh in the space, and then rotation and scale. And from that, we get the transform. I think what we need to do, what do we need to do? Do we just add it? I can't do this because it's C. So v3 add. I don't have that. I have v2 sub. I think I just kind of wrote the ones that I needed. So I might have not written the other ones. So we have v2 add. That's the one, right? And then we need the same one for v3. Simple substitution. I guess I don't need the two here. Just more things to correct. So let's try that. I think that's going to work. Oops. We need to delete that or close it. Well, I guess I'm never calling it. Wait. Mesh. What did I call it? Mesh anchor. Set anchor. Yeah, create rotating triangle. And the offset we want is going to be zero plus this and zero. Oops. No? Well, okay. So this is in pixels, I believe. So we have to actually multiply this by the scale. Y for completeness sake. And there we go. Although we're not we are only creating it from the bottom, we're still rotating around. Oh, wait. Okay. The center point of rotation is here, or rather, the point we're rotating around is here, but the center of rotation is still there. Now that does make sense because we're only adding this. So do I need to add? This is simply an order of operations problem. Because if you imagine that we have this, rectangle. Can I rotate here? I guess I can't really rotate. If we would rotate around here, then that's very different from translating it up and then rotating it around here. What is happening, though, is that we are translating we are first translating and then we are rotating and scaling in that order. Or rather, no, we are rotating. First we are rotating, then we are translating. But in this situation, we actually do want to rotate after doing an initial translation. Right? Because if you look at the order here, it's in reverse. So you're not in this order. To see the order of operations, you have to start at the beginning. The first thing that we are doing is multiplying the rotation by the scale. So we are scaling something up on the right to the size that we want. And then we are rotating it like with the center defined by this. Then, after we have already rotated it, we are multiplying it by the translation. And once that is done, we are multiplying by the projection to get it into the right position for our, camera or something like this. But if we want to rotate around here, we need to first translate it. So actually we have one extra step here. M for offset. So yeah, this is not a thing. Because this is world translation. So we are still doing all of that. Then we are doing if. Do we add a Boolean maybe here to the. This is a V3, so it's how many bytes? If it's anchored, then we calculate some kind of M4 offset or like intermediate step. And this is the normal step. And we put that here. But otherwise, if it's anchored, we do M4 offset equals M4 translate So you can see we are adding this offset step in between the scale and rotation. Now I think it's going to work. Now you see that? Exactly right. And we can make it anchored in a different place. So let's say entity set, or no, mesh set anchor. Let's just do something funny like if triangle.eid mod 2. And now we're doing the top instead. So where is the top? The top is at 0.66. So now let's make two triangles and see one is anchored at the bottom and the other one is anchored at the top. You see that? That's exactly what I want. Great. That's the simplest way that I can think of doing it. I do maybe think anchored. Maybe we will actually go back here. Anchor. That is how you spell it, right? Anchor. Yeah. So now that we have our anchor, we can I don't know, maybe let's just keep it like it is. We just have our set anchor and that's it for now. Let's work instead on grouping these things together. And this should be in yoga speak, right? So I think the most useful one is going to be center. So for although for that I need to have the bounding box. So I need to know the vertices, and the vertices are loaded in the memory as VBOs. So maybe when I load the mesh, I will just set that as a what? How does this look like? Position V2 position, really? Why is it V2 position? Okay. Well, that's something we need to change quite soon. But oops. It's having so like, okay, imagine that this is our mesh. In our editor, we have made it such that the origin is right there at the very bottom. Then we load it, we get the bounding box. We see that the bottom one is 0 and the top one is 0.66. Or actually, no. This would be 1.0, right? Because this is 0.33 and 0.66. So we see that this is the height. So we say that the x height is equal to 1. And well, this width happens to be from 0.57 or something. Yeah, 58. 0.58. So we have a total width. So do we say that, well, this is y actually. Are we saying that the x is 0.58? I don't think so, because we don't know if the origin just happens to be over here. Like maybe we made a mistake. We can't just assume that the anchor or that the origin is centered on the model. So then we can say that the width is 58 plus 58, or you can imagine that this would be 0.5, and maybe this one is 0.6, just for argument's sake. So we have the x is 1.1, but now we don't know where it's actually centered. So do we move everything when we load the model? I would say no. The offset is where it is. That's part of the design of the asset. And if we want to add an extra offset, then that's different. So does that mean that we are adding more data for the bounding box? So we can say that from where we are having a x1, because this is the alternative. We're having y0 is equal to 0, y1 is equal to 1, x0 is equal to 0.5. That's the negative distance from the center. And then you have x1 equals 0.6. And then we know where we are. And we just do that in 3 dimensions. So we have this as vector 2, or vector 3 with two entries into the array. That is enough to describe the bounding box. And again, we just need this bounding box to be able to, for example, if I want to call a anchor center, because I want to center the text, for example, then we just need this to be able to calculate it. So that needs to be part of the mesh. So we should probably set that. We are having buffer create on the, well, based on the VBO. So in this situation, we are creating a buffer and we're loading it with some data, but we are kind of agnostic to what the data actually looks like. We don't care. We only care about the stride and how many of them there are. And a void pointer to the actual data. So I need to probably need to do that in here, which I don't really like. Also, I'm not super happy about this vertex being 2-dimensional. But it's not really something I want to change at this very moment. Because then I have to change the shader and everything else. And the size is maybe also not so nice anymore. 28 bytes. Well, with this, it's going to be 32. So that is actually pretty decent. And this code doesn't really change because we are not using Z anyway. Although we could. Maybe let's just do it and then we can do the anchor thing. So yeah, shader. The shader needs to know about it. Or does it? Maybe this just works. Because I'm creating the shader with the size of the vertex. Yeah, it just works. And it just happens to be that way simply because when we are setting up the shaders, we're grabbing the actual size of the struct and getting the offset of. So that all works. The math is already in 3D. I'm just trying to save um, I'm trying to save space or something, but it should be in 3D, really. Or maybe we have vertex 2D. I still want to be able to place this in 3 dimensions. So let's just keep this. For font, let's just keep everything 3D. Also, the color is part of something different. You could imagine that this would be reused as normal. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking aloud right now. So everything is working. We need to have some sort of mesh. Could that be a main? Do we make a mesh function? Or main source? A mesh source? We might need to do it in the future anyway, because I would like to start generating meshes. So maybe let's try to do that. Mesh.c. Texture. Mm-hmm. let's see if we call it mesh.h. Let's also put the textures in there. Oh, this align as is part of standard align. So yeah, now this one doesn't know what mesh and texture is. That's fine because we are including them. Unknown type name. Math.h. Great. Can I do this? I think it's allowed. What's wrong? Oh, pfft. Eh. Okay, we messed something up here. The rest is working. Why is this messed up? Okay, that all looks good. Eh. What am I doing? So it's definitely reading it as a V2 or V3. Like there's something wrong with that. Yeah, now it's working again. I will think about that later. I don't really care at this moment. The vertex font probably makes sense to divide into two pieces, 2D and 3D, because very rarely am I going to draw that in 3D. While 2D, it's going to be like nearly all the time. So I will think about that some other time. Now you are complaining that we're not. No, we are including it. So what's the issue? No issue. All good. All right. So let's do our anchor. Actually, let's finish with this first. I want my explorer back. Mesh triangle. I guess we can do something like F32 width, or maybe size. And here we can also do scale. Oh wait, no. That's the color. I'm not sure. That is good enough for now. Again, with our rectangle, it's exactly the same thing, except we're having UVs. 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. These ones can look like this because they are so simple. If I would make something like a sphere, I would generate it in a like for loop or something, but like mathematically. But this is so simple, and it works well with what I'm already having. So we're just doing this. This is 4 of them. And we are doing the size of, 150 or something. So this goes there. 4. That goes away. What is wrong? Undeclared function, right? We need to have it here, I guess. Or I don't really even care. Static void. That should still work, right? Even if this is coming from main or the game. No, you don't know it. Fair enough. Incompatible. So you could say this, for example, or this rather. Oops. Like that. So this works, but does this work? It doesn't care. Like I can do this and the compiler is not complaining at all. What is going on? It would be cool if I could say v vertexes 3 here, as in a minimum amount of vertexes. But I guess at least Clangd doesn't care about that at all. I could still keep that there just as an indicator to myself that, hey, this has to be minimum. What am I doing? I don't think it creates any conflict. I don't know. Does that make sense? Is that just dumb? I don't know. Tell me if I'm being stupid. Anyway, we are having our triangle and rectangle now. That means that we can grab the bounding boxes. But I can't do this, right? I need 2 vertices. So we need another V3 bounding box. Or no, actually, we don't need this at all. What am I doing? We are deleting this again. Stupid idea. The mesh has no data assigned to it. So actually what we need let's do it like this. This is what we need. I don't know if there's any like real way around it, but we can that's kind of what we need to do. Now, if I do this, can I get the size of or array count? It's yeah, it doesn't work. So anyway, for a given vertex and count, we are looping through F32 min. Hello, XT Bjorn. We just need to do this for every dimension. So Y Z and the same thing for the maximum. Now this is max, of course. right? It's very nice. No typos, I hope. Boundary checks for collisions? No. So what I'm doing, I am getting the bounding box for a given mesh so that I can anchor it in different positions. So for example, I can anchor it there and I can rotate it around that anchor, or I can anchor it here in the middle and then it goes around there. Now, for the most part, I wrote this mesh anchor set. So I just literally set where I want it to be anchored to. But for the most part, I probably want it to be centered. And in order for it to be centered, then it needs to have, I need to know the bounding box. I could do something much more complicated, like the center of mass. But then I would need to calculate it, and it gets a little bit more complicated than I care for right now. We could think about having center of mass, but then I would calculate it not through the mesh, but through assigning weights to a bunch of things. Yeah, this is just a very simple way of getting the center of the bounding box. Which reminds me, I should put these into my mesh functions. So yeah, we have our mesh and I added the bounding box. We should probably add that here as well, so it's not just set to 0. Primitive info, where do I see. So this is a little bit annoying because these are primitive buffers in OpenGL. I don't know, like, does it make sense? I find myself questioning, like, I am questioning myself all the time. Look at that. Wow, it crashed. I'm just questioning my design choices because I thought it was a great idea to set up buffers with the primitives and just reuse them whenever I'm creating another primitive. But I realize now maybe I just want to create something every time I'm setting it. Maybe I don't have to create a new triangle every time I could reuse the mesh, but the mesh could have its own buffers for the vertices. Like it's a little bit over optimizing to reuse the primitives for every triangle like that, because it overcomplicates everything else. So maybe, where was my primitive create? Is it here? It's in OpenGL. So instead of having the primitive info here, the primitive info is having, the buffers and everything. So let's delete this. Doesn't exist anymore. Now we do a switch primitive. And we just call the functions instead. V's. Indices. Yeah. Never mind that. If it's a triangle, then we do state arena alloc state scratch arena. The size would be vertex, or rather size of times. Should I just put 3 there? Makes sense. They just happen to be the same here. Let's not care about the primitive info. Tag is the same. Do I even use the tag here? I can just set the tag. Draw count is I guess we put it here. We can ignore this one. This goes, somewhere here. And then we have this mesh rectangle. It's a void. Vertex. case style. I don't even think I have a case style for function pointers. You know, something like that. And at the very end, we pop ice and V's. Right, we don't need the info anymore. These are the V's and I's. This is static for now, although we can probably put that in here somewhere. Buffers. That's a GL int. Ice. V's. I don't have the array count is vertex count. The same thing here. Okay. Data program, blah, blah, blah. Buffer count. Well, there's two buffers. I generate them here. So 2, I guess. Buffer get. No, it's the VBO. Vbuff. Wait, I never created a buffer. I see. Why can I not go to that definition? Forget. Buffer get. Huh? So like, I think it's just not showing me it because there's some syntax error because I deleted it, like here. So Clangd just like kind of craps out. In the same function, in the same file, the definition is right here. Graphics buffer count. Maybe I should create a buffer then. Oh, this is, I see. These are integers, my own integers. So it's not a GL int. This is I32. Let's call it something like this then. Indies buffer ID. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to keep the same method as before, so that I'm not getting any syntax errors. Now there's still a bunch of issues. Yeah, this is gone. OpenGL, fine. Now we are not creating the triangles. The trigonologies. So that means when I am creating the primitive, in the game, here, add primitive, I'm having some primitive. I'm calling mesh primitive create. All this is really in the game. We're going to have an issue, I feel like. Yeah. So we are trying to create a rectangle. Maybe this will work actually. This is 4 and this is 6. And this is a triangle. Pointer. Maybe this does work. Unimplemented. Really? Who's calling you? Rectangle. Ah. Oh, I forget the break. Rookie mistake. Now. Oh. 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 Access violation. Really? So you can see that the rectangle is absolutely huge. That's because I'm multiplying the scale like this. This becomes a 1 right now. Let's check all of them. Yeah. These are just 1 because in my mesh function here, I'm just already multiplying by the size. No? Nowhere? Oh, I'm calling it from here. This is where the scale is coming from. So now we're back here, but if I click anywhere, there's an access violation. And I'm not sure why this happens. I'm trying to draw something that doesn't exist. Or do I? I feel like something about adding the triangle is messed up. Add primitive. Then why is the rectangle working? That doesn't make sense. So we are adding a mesh. So now we have eMesh. All of this is 0. The pointer exists, so that checks out. Then we're adding our vertex. We are trying to create a triangle, so we have 3 and 3. Mesh triangle. All good. We are generating this mesh. Okay. Why can I not do 3? This is a pointer. Oh, it's not a pointer. This is a pointer. Minus 86 plus 86. That looks... Minus 50 here looks accurate. All right. Indices 0, 1, 2. We're creating some buffers. 25, 26. We're storing them there. It worked for the rectangle, so I don't know what's going on. Data or it is an object. Let me check something here. So when we're setting the info, we're setting the tag and draw count. But that's it. And then when we were calling add primitive, we're adding the program. And the program comes in here. Shader program ID. And that's it. Color program, primitive triangle. Like all this looks good to me. I don't know why one would work and the other would not. Draw count is 6. Huh? Oh, well, triangle. Triangle is 3, I guess. Yeah. Shader program looks fine. So we get the buffer. $26 and oh. $26 and then 27. We don't have uniform buffers. So maybe in the drawing function, we will be able to tell. Three entities. Position. 1,000 seems wrong. But it could be like that could be correct. Neither here or there. And then mesh. It's not created. That's wrong. Is this created? No. Okay. So we need to add mesh. No. The EID is that the mesh has created. That goes in game component create add. But I don't want to do that there. So shader program. Texture. I don't know. Maybe I will change that design. Let's just delete it right now. Component array or mesh. It's in mesh. Let's remove that. it's ready. The type is wrong. How is that possible? This is plausible. So I need to look at where else. We do this in what? eMesh. This is wrong. That's probably why it's crashing. So why is that never set? Where did I set that before? Because I'm doing this. In the graphics mesh, which is also where I'm reading it from. I guess this is sort of unused. Yeah, it's completely unused. So that can't be it. Object draw count VAO. So we are going to 0, 1, 2. Oh, hold up. Why is it crashing before I reach the second one? So again, this is state entities I, or rather just E, which is the font. This is the text down there. We're loading some texture. Probably correct. The other textures are not there. And then we get down all the way to mesh tag font draw elements. We're drawing a bunch of them. And that's giving our access violation. So I think somehow we must be pointing to the wrong vertices or something. Does it tell me why it crashed? It doesn't care. What is going wrong here? So only when we are adding the triangle after already adding the text, this is crashing because of some access violation null pointer. What is the null pointer? What null pointer are we talking about? So what does it say right here? It says oh, actually, hold up. Object font. Okay. So this is how it looks like. And that works all the time. Then I'm adding my triangle. And suddenly, anything is different here. Zero zero 1 0 2 2 1 13 0 0 0 0. 162, everything the same. However, let's compare it. This is the triangle. 001. One user is fine. GLID2, GLID3, bind index 0, target usage. I need to remind myself what was the target and usage. I'm a little bit stuck. I feel like somehow we are reusing something that we should not. $25 buffers and a bunch of parameters. One user, 0 users, I don't know. I honestly have no idea. Like, somehow we're messing with the buffers. Must be. So let's just... I have to try something drastic. So mesh add or primitive add. So what happens here is that I'm not actually adding the mesh. So I want to see if that makes it not crash. Mm. But you don't know how much that is. Let's just... Now you cannot complain. This is just debugging. Access. Yeah. This tag, let's just get rid of it. Are we using it anywhere else? I guess we are. Really? Why is it a null pointer? Aha. Error. I'm just trying to be very quick because this is just code for seeing why is it crashing. Exception where? In the draw. Thanks, Rove Tuati. I feel like I need the luck right now. So yes, you see that? Let's go all the way here. Using libraries, very few of them. You can find them on my GitLab, but these are my dependencies. That's it. Wrong memory deallocated. Fair enough. So like right now, I'm just trying to figure out what part is messing up my OpenGL state when I'm adding vertex array is not initialized. Why is there Arabic word on my screen? Because that's the string that I'm trying to draw. I'm drawing this. I also have Latin, Swedish, Chinese, because I would like to be able to draw any string. And Arabic is like the hardest thing to draw on a computer. Like it's actually crazy how hard it is. Why are you complaining? This is also in draw. 2. Did I add an entity? I did. Let's not do that. My background? What do you mean? Hello? Okay, now nothing is happening. That's what I would expect. But if we actually break here somewhere, we should be able to see that we have added something. Software engineer. Well, I have worked in TV for the past 10 years. Software engineering is more of a hobby, but I'm trying to take it more professional. So yeah. Let's try just moving this down until something breaks. Because some function here is messing up the state of OpenGL, and I have no idea which one. So that worked. Probably, like, I feel like it's the buffer somehow. Yes. Okay. Which one of them? The second one. It's simpler than you think. It just takes a lot of dedication and care. Stride. Like with any problem, if you are just dividing it into smaller problems, you can tackle them individually. So this is my what am I doing here? Size of U16. EBO count. Value. There's something really simple that I'm doing wrong. So simple. What if I return here? Actually, I can do this. And then I do if, well, actually, no, because that's effectively the same thing. Indies buffer ID. What is going on here? Buffer objects. This one is unset. And that's the one we return. All 0. is an EBO. So we set those. Generate the buffer. Bind it to this target. Four is a U32. There's 3 of them. Zero, 1, 2. That's correct. We set it to be 27. Now it's ready. Bind index. UBO. Okay. $13. GLID. The font is a unsigned short. That's true. So why is this messing up? Why is it messing up? Why is it location 0? I didn't see anything weird there. What are all these for? Those are my fonts. See, they're all using the same function. So if something would be wrong, like I don't understand why it would be this one. VBOID. What is buffer 13? GLID 14. GLID 14 bind to index 0. So could it be... What if the rectangle is creating an issue? Because look, we are deleting this. And triangle. Add primitive. We are reverting. I might be binding some buffer here that I shouldn't. Texture slot. But I am using... I'm setting that, no? No, I'm setting this. And also it's nothing different. Thanks, Rip to me. I am just about done for today. Like, I don't know what's going on. Really. I might just have to come back to this later because this is really dumb. I don't have any error messages. I only have a null pointer right when I call the OpenGL draw. And apparently it happens because of some buffer. Because of this buffer. But here I'm creating some buffer here. It's on index 26. I have one final thing I can try. And that is to hope. Takes forever to build. Let's see if something is different on my browser build. Like, is it going to tell me what's going on? I would expect the triangle to show up. Let's just remove this one entirely. What is happening now? The next one, okay. The first one shows up. The next one crashes. This works fine. So what exactly is crashing now? Draw count. Is it always the third object then? Nah, I think I'm gonna give up for today. Thank you guys for watching. That's annoying. Like, why would this? I don't get it. Yeah. I have nothing more to say. If you have been here for the past hour, thank you. I'll be back and I'll figure this out. Bye.